Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jerry Sansing, and this is August the 3rd of 2015. This is the latest edition of what's going on in Corpus Christi. The show was actually set up by the Corpus Christi Taxpayers Association many years ago, and it's been on public access for a long time. And our next meeting, I want to let you know, our board meeting will be September 5th of this year at the Small Planet Delicatessen, which is at Saratoga and Staple Street at 2 p.m. There's a little back room back there, a meeting room. You can get something to eat and drink and so forth. I'm not advertising them. It's just a good place for us to meet. It's about the right size for our board meetings. And then September 5th, as I say, will be the next one, and you're welcome. Now, this show's been going on a long time. It used to be What's Happening in Corpus Christi, Texas, and Joe O'Brien, who was the president of the Taxpayers Association for many years, filmed that show. And then when he stepped down, Jack Gordy took over and he filmed it for quite some time. And then I'm now the president of the Taxpayers Association, so I'm going to carry on the good work that those two individuals did, and I hope I can fill their shoes. Now, the reason I mentioned Joe O'Brien, and he has passed away, unfortunately for this community, but he used to close all of his writings and his show with the fact and the statement that silence is not the answer. And what you have to do around this town with the elected officials that we have, who are all, it's self-interest. I don't think many of them really care about the community and taxpayers and so forth. They just like to see themselves elected to that and go play big shot over there at Del Mar or the city council, county commissioners and so forth court. But silence is not the answer. So if you want to get people's attention around here, I found out years ago that you just have to jump up and down and raise some hell in order to get their attention. Now, you're not going to be very well liked, which is me in my position at Del Mar College and around town. But, frankly, my dear, I really don't care, okay? I'm tired of being pushed around. I'm tired of being taxed to death. I'm tired of having my front end of my car aligned every 6 months. I'm tired of this, that, and the other, and nothing seems to get done around here except a bunch of lip service, okay? And I call it chin music for my friend Tammy, okay? Now, what I'd like to do is, we had a Taxpayers Association meeting a couple of days ago on August the 1st, and the members are real concerned, rather perturbed about a lot of things that are going on around town and not going on around town. So I'm going to go through some of the major problems that my constituents have over there, my fellow members. Now, one of them was the fact that Mr. Jack Gordy has red flagged the Justice Department through the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, about the sidewalks at Airline and SPID in front of the Gulfway Shopping Center. Okay, there are big palm trees sticking up, and people in wheelchairs and walkers and so forth cannot get around those. There's only 16-inch clearance between a bunker and the tree, and then the tree and the street. And that's one busy street out there, folks. Okay? So he's been asking the city constantly about when they're going to go out there and take those trees down and drag the roots out and grind them out, and then go ahead and put concrete in those holes. There are 4 or 5 of the palm trees along there that are obstructing the pathway. Okay? Now, he's been told by the city, through the city attorney, that they were grandfathered in, they meaning the city of Corpus Christi, and they don't have to comply to the ADA rules and regulations. Now, I don't know, Mr. Gordy's talked to the Department of Justice and the ADA people, and they say that's not true. So, we're trying to figure out. But at the meeting, Mr. Gordy did indicate that the Department of Justice was going to contact him this week. This would be August 3rd. This is a week before this show will air, actually. You can catch these on YouTube. Go into Janelle, Janell, Bennett, on YouTube and put in what's going on in Corpus Christi, and you know, watch the show a little bit early. Now, so we're real concerned about that, and you know, I don't know how and why this city hires attorneys that will not speak the truth. They're very anti-citizen, and here you are paying them a fabulous salary down there with about 20 other attorneys, and then they spend $3.5+ million out of the town for outside attorneys, the city does, in addition to hiring 21 attorneys down here. None of which, I guess, can pick up the phone and say, you know, Department of Justice, are we in compliance or not? Do we have this long time waiver for this or not? And you know, it just baffles a lot of our members, and this is costing us money, and we are all for the Americans with Disabilities Act and these poor people that have to get around this city, and it's poor enough as it is, okay? It's very difficult. Okay, now the second item that was of concern, and this came out recently from Del Mar College, one of my favorite topics around here. And Del Mar College is now going to buy a gasoline station at the corner of Costorix and Staples Street, which is in front of the old Albertson store that they converted to the Center for Economic Development, and now they put up this big studio for KEDT. Okay. Now, I have been trying to figure out through various people why they want that piece of property. And they say, well, to give us a better view, or not the view, but the public a better view of the Economic Development Center and that KEDT studio. Okay? Now, what they propose to do, this is what I'm getting back as feedback from this, is they're going to go in there and tear down that station. They're going to have to spend an absolute fortune digging up the gasoline tanks that are underground there. It takes a good bit of money. If they've had any leakage in there and you've got gasoline in the soil, you've got to dig out all of that soil, have it tested, make sure it's out, then fill it back in. And apparently all they want to do out there is to give you a little bit better view of the facility and plant grass out there and put up a Del Mar College sign. Now, folks, when does this madness end? Okay? That station's not bothering a soul out there, and people know where KEDT is going to go in and where that Economic Development Center is. And I'm still burned up with KEDT and Del Mar College for allowing a Del Mar College employee to make anti-Semitic remarks, as far as I'm concerned, about gas chambers on the last holiday concert, and they thought it was funny. And KDET, I have not heard anything from them about people who have questioned that. And it cost you, let me tell you folks, Del Mar College Regents, that cost you an awful lot of goodwill among the Jewish community around here, of which I am a member. Okay? So I want you to bear that in mind. And then we'll see how much support you get for the next holiday concert, and we'll see which other group you may not allow anti-Semitic remarks or consider those next time, but let's see what other religious or ethnic group that you get all over with that. Okay? So I will show you at the end of this. I'm going to save 3 minutes. I'm going to go over to that site, and then I will show you that gasoline station at the corner of Costorix and Staples. Okay? Now, another thing that they're outraged with is the continued poor track record on accounting and the spin by Del Mar College on these write-offs that they've made, these massive write-offs. Now, as a background, I'll just tell you that in 2013, I discovered a document indicating that Del Mar College had written off as a bad uncollectible debt some $185,700. Okay? Now, among the items in there was a $54,267 write-off, and that was owed uncollected debt generated by Texas A&M Kingsville. Okay? So I want to know what that was all about. Now, when I teamed up with a CPA master's degree in accountability, or accountancy, excuse me, and accountability also. I guess that was a Freudian slip. But we started investigating this and asked for certain information, and the information that was we were told it was too extensive, and that the bill for obtaining that was going to cost the CPA and myself $26.7 million. It was going to take 120 man years to get it together, and it consisted of 105 million documents. Now, after some TV exposure on that from Channel 6 here, Mr. Rick Spruill, then all of a sudden there was a meeting with the Del Mar College attorney, and it wound up it was less than 200 pages is what he'd really asked for, if anybody over there knew accounting at Del Mar College, and not the purported, it was a mathematical error and all this other garbage that they fed us. But anyway, it cost zero, and it was under 200 pages. Okay, and we still can't get explanations of this. Now, in August of 2014, that was a year after we found this, a Public Information Act request was made of Miss Karen Royal and Miss Iris Sanchez, Office of Compliance at Kingsville, Texas, at Texas A&M University, Kingsville. Haven't got any response from that, except it was taken care of. Okay? Now, $54,000 is a lot of money, folks, for taxpayers. You can hire a faculty member for that rather than an adjunct to do it. I'll discuss that in a minute. Del Mar doesn't believe anymore in full-time tenured professors and so forth. We're going to cheapen everything up, which cheapens education, and it slights those taxpayers out there that are paying to educate the general public here through the community college system. Okay? And you can tell I'm just a little bit perturbed with that. But I don't mind speaking my mind, okay? They're after me now anyway, Del Mar College is. Love to fire me, get rid of me and this show and everything else. But all I can do is wish them good luck. Okay? And we haven't got the explanation of the $54,267.29 on that one. Okay? So the taxpayers are a bit perturbed with that. Then if you turn around and take a look, there was another one written off, and that was, let's see, $89,073.50 by the Coastal Bend Council of Governments. Now, I asked about that one. I called the Coastal Bend Council of Governments, and I said, are you taxpayer entity, and why won't you, why did you have them write this stuff out? Why did you default on a debt that great? So what they said was, no, we don't have any government money that comes in here. Well, just recently, what we've got is we had on the 21st of April, it was requested from Miss Veronica Toomey, Coastal Bend Council of Governments, through Public Information Act. We wanted to find out how, and we wanted all the paperwork associated with an $89,073.50 write-off. Okay? No response. So what happened then was the Attorney General was written, okay, and it says from the Education Enforcement section complaining about that, and guess what? A letter came in last week that said, hey, and it was a copy of a letter that the Texas Attorney General's office sent to the Coastal Bend Council of Governments, and it says you are going to give them that information. So you see what you have to go through around here with these different entities just to get the thing done. Okay, so it's total insanity around here, folks. So why don't you write your, it's better to call or email. Why don't you get the email address for all the Del Mar College Board of Regents members and the president over there of the college, and say, why can't we keep up with things over there and have an accounting system that works? Okay? And then I'm going to discuss in just a minute more about that. Now, I have asked for information, okay, through the Public Information Act system to find out why and how I could cover myself when my dean and my department chair made some very blatant lies about me. And then the department chair filed a disciplinary action letter he wanted to stick into my personnel file. So there were 3 items that he cited as the reason for him wanting to do that. And then I asked through Public Information Act requests for information for each one of those 3 items. Okay? Now, I was told that since that was going to be, and I appealed that disciplinary action, okay, that since that was going to be a quasi-judicial forum, that I wasn't allowed to get that stuff. So they wrote it for an opinion from the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General said give it to him. They forced my hearing without having the information I need to defend myself. And then all of a sudden, after they found out I knew about that, then they're suing the Attorney General for Lord knows how much money it's going to cost you taxpayers out there, and me too, for another opinion. And it states in the Public Information Act itself that a governmental agency cannot and will not go back and request a reconsideration of any opinion rendered by the Texas Attorney General. So now we're in the middle of a contest here, having Del Mar College spend an outrageous amount of money to withhold information from me and sue the Attorney General. And the only ones that are benefiting for that are the attorneys. Okay? Now, I don't know of an attorney in this world that would work for Del Mar College that didn't want to have the problem go on forever, whether they were right or wrong, because the attorneys are not going to be the ones to suffer. It's going to be you taxpayers. Okay? They don't want to solve any problems, folks. Not at all. And if you can't figure that out, then, I feel sorry for you. Just keep paying these exorbitant taxes. So it's crazy. Okay? So that's all I wanted to do was defend myself, and I can do that. I'm giving them, all the rope it's going to take, and let them run with it. And I can't wait until the slack runs out of the chain. So anyway, the taxpayers are perturbed about that. In fact, at the Board of Regents meeting back on July the 14th, Jack Gordy and I went over there, and Mr. Gordy under public comment section, which is always at the end of these long drawn-out meetings with a bunch of attorneys in closed session racking up exorbitant bills, okay? And now you can't figure out exactly what's going on with those bills. That's even if they'll give it to you. They're stalling out information about how you're spending your tax money for attorneys over there. And you need to address that with your Board of Regents member, okay, your at-large in your district, and just raise hell with them. It's time to replace them. And remember this at the polls, folks. Go vote. Don't just sit there and say, I can't do any good about this while they're stealing your money. And that's essentially what they're doing. And they're trying to get rid of us old toots that they say cost too much money. And I've always, since the first day I started at Del Mar, had enough backbone to say, tell it the way I see it. And I'm about as honest as anybody I know of, and anybody else that knows me knows. I'm not going to tell a lie. I don't have to. So raise hell with them, folks. Okay? All right, now, then what we've got is the increased cost that cropped up this last Friday. Okay? And by the way, tell the regents if you want to go down there that you want to have your public comments out front before the meeting starts, so you're not sitting there for an hour, 2, 3, 4, or 5 waiting on those yahoos to get through, paying a bunch of attorneys for bad advice. But anyway, on the 1st of August, just the other day, at that special call board meeting, the proposed budget for 2016 expenditures came up. Okay? Now this is very important, folks. This is what's proposed, and your Board of Regents members are going to vote on this. Now the budget last year was $82 million some odd $1,000, and what's proposed for 2016 is just over $85 million. So that's a lot of taxpayer money. Okay? Now, in here, we've been Mr. Ed Bennett and myself have been screaming about the lack of accountability over there in auditing things and figuring out, budgets and so forth, and why we have to write off $2.838 million in bad debts over a 6-year period of time, why our enrollment is sliding down, why we're spending much more for administrative positions and so forth than instruction. And, all I can say is from 60% a decade ago for instruction down to 36% now, and then they get upset when somebody mentions the term administrative bloat over there. Apparently one of the board members said something about that, and got the feathers of the President Escamilla all ruffled up, and the President of the Board of Regents, Mr. Trey McCampbell, and some of the other people. Well, folks, that's not your money. Okay, you're over there elected to take care of my money and take care of my interest and the interest of the students. And the only thing that you need an administration for over there is to provide professors with what they need to teach the students. We don't need all this fluff that they've got going on over there. It is total and complete administrative bloat. Okay? So I'm there, and people know that I'm a little sensitive about that. I don't like people slipping their hand in my pocket and stealing my money and then going over there and giving it to a bunch of administrators who sit around and do essentially nothing. And they certainly can't get the accounting done over there in a timely manner and in the shape it takes. All right, now, so going down this budget, then what we're going to do is we have audit fees for 2015 wound up to be $43,557. Now, what they've proposed for the audit fees budget for next year is $310,000. And I did not see a copy of that show. I'm going to do it, of that meeting on Friday, the 31st of July. But I've got a DVD of it, and I'm going to sit down and peruse it for the next show and pay a little bit more attention. My time is very valuable in summertime teaching classes. But I guess what they said was that the accounting systems and auditors and stuff weren't any good in the past, and now we're going to hire this company to come in and do a super job of it. Well, there you go, folks. That's a difference of what, say $5,000, about 200 and some odd thousand dollars, $250,000 more. I just don't understand this. Okay, they did. Let's see. Then they have where was the legal fees down here? Legal fees. Now they're going to go from $325,000 a year, which is exorbitant, down to $175,000. Now what they're going to do is they're going to go ahead and hire a full-time in-house counsel again. We had one, and that didn't seem to work real well. Okay, and I don't know that Delmar really knew how to handle that, but they're going to go, and the current trend is to go ahead and hire an in-house counsel for the president and for the board. Okay, and I'm sure that's going to wind up being an absolute disaster. Now, attorneys are not going to want to cure problems over there, and we've got a bunch of them. There are a lot of small lawsuits that happen all the time over there because, the philosophy is, and I've heard administrators in the past say this, well, if you don't like what we propose as a resolution, then you just go sue us. Now, I'm going to take the last couple of minutes and tell you that when Dr. Mark Escamilla came in as president, we had a talk within the first couple of weeks when he was there, and he said, what's the problem at Delmar? Everybody knew there were problems from the great one, Mr. Carlos, or Dr. Carlos A. Garcia, who was his contract was not renewed. He sued me, and now he's backed off of that. And I'm in another contest with Delmar to have them indemnify me for all of that, because I had Board of Regents members asking another person than myself to go out and find information and find out if the rumors about the man were true. And they didn't cover me for that one, okay? Now, and they should have. I'll give you the latest on that saga. Now, what we have is this whole legal problem, ladies and gentlemen, is just an abomination. They're not going to, attorneys aren't going to try to fight and get things settled for you. Okay, they're going to try to protect and keep covering up all that stuff over there at the college, and it's a real crime that we have to put up with that. Okay, and then the audit fees. I want you to remember that we've got $43,557 this last year, and it's going to be up to $310 next year. And I don't know if they'll ever straighten that out. And I don't know if with the current attorneys we've got over there covering up everything and suing things to cover up information and withhold information from me and my partner in crime over there, I guess you could say, one Ed Bennett. We do have the organization which is called BS Investigations, which fits, I think. And, you know, we've stirred it up so far, but we need your help. So when it comes voting time, let's replace that Board of Regents members, okay? Let's just wipe it out and start afresh. And then another thing I'd like to have you do is do the same thing with City Council. I mean, they're so blatantly involved down there that you can't get streets fixed. They won't admit to what's happening with the sewer systems. That's another $1 billion that they're looking at. All I can say is, if you've got such poor service, then just consider, why would somebody spend $70,000 for a $6,000 a year job unless there's something in it for them, and at your expense. So I'm going to wind it down. I've got maybe 10 seconds left, and what I'll do is I'll go film that gas station for you and make some comments for the last 3 minutes. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next week. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you can hear me over the wind or not, but here's that station at the corner of Costorix and Staples, and in the background you can see Del Mar College and where they're constructing that KEDT facility. So I don't know if it's going to do any good to try to zoom in on this or not, but apparently what they want to do, they meaning Del Mar College and the Regents, is to go ahead and develop this into grass patch out here, put some signs up so that all you good people don't have to look through that service station to see where they are. So just wanted to let you know that this is what you're spending your good tax money on, and the Lord knows how much, as long as this station's been here, it's going to cost to go ahead and take care of the soil down where the tanks are. So I'm just going to go ahead and hold this up for a few more seconds and let the clock run down, and then let the videographer take care of it. But that's what you've got. Here's a close-up of Del Mar. I'm not using a tripod, folks, so it's going to be a little bit wiggly. But there's your KEDT and all that construction going on over there with that boondoggle. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this, and I'll just let it play out for a little bit. I'll zoom in and out one more time so you can see what you're going to purchase with your tax money. And this, plus that 95 acres out there, that floodplain for the south campus out there, is just, I mean, it's incredible. So they call this one the South Side Campus, and they want the South Campus out there at Rodd Field in Yorktown. So I'm just going to let it go, see if I've got an appropriate number of minutes here, and wish you a fond adieu. Shouldn't be more than a couple more seconds. And email me at gsansing, SANSING, @gmail.com. Good night.